Gabriel Esu is a results-driven professional with more than 18 years managing more than $2 billion infrastructure projects across two continents. He holds multiple engineering and project management credentials and currently serves as contracts manager for major Metrolinx rail projects in Toronto.
So, like you rightly said, there's two sides to my personality, and one of them would be in the construction side, where I work with um, uh, right now on Metrolinx projects for a company called Flatiron Zagados. And for the past 18 years, it used to be maybe in high-rise buildings and horizontal infrastructure. And in the last 2-3 years, the focus has been on rail. And we can all appreciate how relevant rail transportation is to the subject matter of climate change and sustainability. So that's why this subject always rings through for me, and I find it very, very appealing. In any way I can, I contribute my little to having a better and more sustainable society. And then on the other side of me, I'm a co-founder of Tri4Blacks. And the focus of what we do is developing leadership pathways for young Black and racialized people. We all agree that sustainable transport is about people. And so if I bring my experience to bear in construction with, grooming people, I can say that my work on both sides is to help the goals of the government and all of us in sustainable transportation reality. So thank you, and I'm glad to be here to contribute to the conversation.
Now, balancing carbon reduction with social equity can be challenging in sustainable transport planning. Now, from a technical perspective, what engineering or project design approaches are most effective in achieving both goals simultaneously?
Okay, thank you very much, Obi. I think to Simon point on what Dorinda said earlier, they're all interwoven. In my current role as a contracts manager on projects that are actually owned and run by Metrolinx, I'm on two of them, Finch Kennedy Smart Track Station and Bowmanville Extension. I see every day that issues of carbon and equity are not necessarily competing objectives, right? There are design constraints that the designer and Metrolinx or whoever the owner is should always take into consideration when you're designing these projects. And the few key approaches that should be used, one of them mostly would be to prioritize transit where people and buses already live, right? Where you already have people and bus routes, so that you can cut trip emissions, because that's the end goal of what we're trying to go with, reducing the carbon emission, moving people from vehicles, personally used vehicles, to buses and rail, transportation, because global evidence, like Obi said earlier, shows that the most road transportation contributes mostly to, global green gas emissions. So when you prioritize transportation in this way, when you're designing it, it helps to reduce this, and you also help lower income households who, often rely more on transit and they spend a large of their budget, traveling long distances and all of that. And then, to buttress what Dorinda said earlier on, another approach would be to design for access as opposed to speed, right? When you have areas where you have a larger population, you want to design, for instance, sitting areas in the train stations and bus stations so that it's easy for people to want to use those, right? And then maybe also save pedestrian and cycling connections, and also in this kind of neighborhoods, maybe two-way or all-day transportation, basically with the aim of making it a lot easier for people in the low-income neighborhoods to want to, take advantage of rail transportation, or this transportation that actually emit low, as opposed to using their own vehicles. But the big picture is, like you said, transportation accounts significantly for global GHG emissions, and nearly, I think 28% you said of Canada's emission is with road transportation, and also every design decision that shifts all the trips to high capacity, low carbon modes and improves access to marginalized communities is doing double duty, right? Both for climate and for equity. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabriel. Yes, totally. Designing, for designing so that we're able to achieve our goal efficiently, people are able to move efficiently without reducing our carbon footprint is really where we want to go, right? So thank you for that. Drawing from your work at Thrive for Blacks, now, what technical skills are most essential for young Black professionals entering the sustainable transport sector today, such as climate risk analysis, digital twins, low carbon materials management, or data-driven infrastructure planning? What technical skills are most essential?
Okay, thank you for that. I think you even answered the questions. So if you read through, if you go through our website and the work that we do or we've been doing, a lot of it is centered on youth leadership, community engagement skills, and again, like I said earlier, helping or focusing on young Black and racialized youths, so that they see themselves as not just users of transportation in future, but decision makers in this sector that can help us save, secure policies that would, drive towards low carbon emission and all of that. So they need to develop skills that are very, very useful for the nature of work in this industry, like in construction and in transportation. And one of which would be, or the most important, in my opinion, they need to understand how systems work and have a proper climate literacy. Need to understand how transportation fits into the broader climate picture, right? Like you said, how significant transportation is in contributing to all of this. You need to, first of all, understand how that works for you to be able to contribute or, put in your conversations, properly. Basic risk. You need to understand how to analyze basic climate risk, like floods, heat, and how they affect rail corridor stations and operations. That way, you can bring that knowledge, to bear in design of stuff. And then another knowledge that would be very good would be data and digital skills, right? They should be able to, because it's heavily dependent on data, the designs and policies around, transportation, like you should know how to map ridership, calculate emissions, and, extract equity impacts, and then also skills in BIM, digital tools that could help you apply model construction in ways that would really improve on or promote the concept. And then another skill that would be good to have would be knowledge of low carbon materials generally and construction awareness. Not every graduate, of course, is expected to be a structural engineer or a civil engineer or build roads and all, but they should know why, decarbonizing cement, steel and construction process matters and what options exist, right? Like mass timber and the like, that a lot of countries have made a mainstay. So at Try for Blacks, we explicitly or objectively teach young people about governance, community engagement, not-for-profit administration, because technical solution without community trust will not last, right? So my advice, not just to the Black and racialized people that our projects are focused on, would be to everybody in Canada, is yes, learn the hard skills, but also cultivate the civic and community skills. Sustainable transportation is a socio-technical system. We need people who can code. We need people who can sit in church basements and in in meetings and talk about these things that matter in wherever space they find themselves. Thank you.
That's really good. So technical solutions without community skills, right, is not going to go through it. So you have to be able to engage the community because, like you said, it's a socio-technical system, which you need that to work. So it's about the people. This designing is for the people, not for technology's sake. So you have experience developing leadership pathways for young Black and racialized professionals. How can major transportation programs cultivate a more inclusive workforce that supports long-term prosperity and resilience in the sector?
Thank you, Obi. It's a great question. It's all tied to leadership, right? Between my professional role in major infrastructure, like you talked about earlier on, co-founding Try for Blacks, the reason I'm here, and plus serving on all other boards like Hamilton Naturalist Club, one of the biggest conservation societies in Canada. I've seen that leadership pipelines don't necessarily build themselves. You have to find a way, like Try for Blacks is trying to do, to design leadership pathways that will help transition young people into taking up these stewardship roles. Yeah, and one of the key ones is actually being intentional about those pathways beyond not-for-profit sector to major transport owners and even the construction companies. They can partner with companies like Try for Blacks and Dorina's organization and your organization, for multiple year scholarships instead of one-offs. Do outreach to middle and high schools, paid summer placements, and maybe rotational entry level. So as many people as possible from this demographic can come into the space and learn a lot. Another one would be maybe community benefit agreements tied to real jobs and advancements. For big programs like the Go expansion, which both my projects are part of, we can actually go beyond local hiring, right, to include a lot of other innovations like apprenticeships targeted at racialized youths, mentorship programs, even pairing young people with people that are a lot older and more experienced within this space. Like Simon, I know Simon is in the academic line of things, but even practically speaking in construction, people that have this knowledge are paired with the younger people so they can learn a lot. And also because we have a lot of immigrants like all of us within Canada, also helping with support for credential recognition so that people that come with this experience from elsewhere can easily get integrated to put it to practical use. There's other things like inclusive culture inside project teams for all constructions, but I know I've used my time, and thank you. You can never exhaust all of this. Thank you.
No, you've cited real great, great ways, strategies, apprenticeship, community benefit agreement, apprenticeship program. So these are all great ways which, this can happen.